Ms. Lemko and Mr. DeAngelo, are you bringing up anything this morning? Is there anything?
I am.
You are, okay. Mr. DeAngelo, are you?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out the time here. Okay, ready to go?
No, can I have a minute, Your Honor? We kind of had a little mishap with our cart and things
Yes,
fell.
that's fine.
Not a little.
Well, I guess I can talk while we're doing it. Sure.
Okay. All right.
Where is,
Is it all right if we start? I mean, we're not going to call him, but you can still take pictures or whatever. We're just going to talk. You can do whatever you need to do. Sure. All right, ready, Heather? I am calling State of Wisconsin versus James Prokopovitch, file number 19 CF 716. May I have the appearances, please?
Deputy District Attorney Wendy Lemkuhl and Assistant District Attorney Caleb Saunders, as well as Special Agent Jay Yergis and Sergeant Roman Ehrenstein, all appear on behalf of the state, Your Honor.
Your Honor, Attorney John DeAngelo on behalf of James Prokopovitz, who does appear in person, and I'm also being assisted by my paralegal Bonnie Gottfried.
Thank you. This is the second day of the trial, and the jury, it's not quite 8:30, it's about 8:27 right now, but my understanding is that Ms. Lemko is going to address an issue, and I have an issue to address too. Go ahead, Ms. Lemko.
Thank you, Your Honor. Actually, there's two issues that the state was going to address. First, I did put counsel on notice. We flipped our order a little bit, in part based upon the ruling yesterday. We are going to be calling one of the victim's children, Wes Edges, first now, and then we're going to be calling Marcia Loritz. We previously had not instructed the court what the parties believed the stipulation was as to prior convictions, and of course we're aware we should be doing that with the court prior to calling anybody. It is the state's position that Wes has 0 and that Marcia has 0. We have provided an opportunity for the defense to come to our office, look at the triple I's of all the witnesses prior to the trial, and I believe that Attorney DeAngelo would stipulate to those numbers.
Is that correct, Mr. DeAngelo?
Yes, Your Honor.
And
Thank you.
I can further advise the court with respect to our witnesses yesterday, Your Honor, that none of them had prior convictions either. We will consult with the defense previous to any other witnesses this afternoon relative to that.
And you agree with all that, Mr. DeAngelo?
Yes, Your Honor. Again, I had a chance to look at the triple I's, and none of the witnesses yesterday had any prior convictions.
Very good. And was there anything else, Ms. Lemko?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I did just confer with Attorney DeAngelo, and I don't know if it's completely necessary to address this at length, but yesterday, as the case started coming in, the state had some concerns that there could be a breach of the pretrial order, the pretrial motions, and the court order with respect to Denny evidence. As the court would be aware, with respect to that, that's an opportunity that was motioned out pretrial about whether or not there was going to be any inference that any other individual could have caused the death of Ms. Prokopovitz besides the defendant. I did speak with Attorney DeAngelo, indicating it was the state's belief after listening to some of the testimony there that there could have been some inferences left to the jury relative to, hey, what about Wes? He's in the house. He had the same opportunity. He didn't call the police. He didn't blah, blah, blah. And that would be inadmissible under evidence, the pretrial rulings. In talking to Attorney DeAngelo, and most importantly, what the court isn't aware of, because you don't know all the evidence yet, is that Wes actually gets alibied out by the witnesses. He wasn't possibly there that evening. He was with individuals until that 4 o'clock, 4:30 time frame when he comes home. So that's why something like that would be improper under the law. In speaking to Attorney DeAngelo, he explained to me that is not their intent, that is not what he would be arguing. He would not be violating a court order with respect to Denny evidence. So based on that discussion, we're comfortable not going further. However, we wanted it noted on the record that we've put the defense on notice with respect to that issue.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. DeAngelo. I'll have you respond. I sat through all the testimony yesterday, and I didn't think that at all. So, I mean, it didn't even cross my mind. Mr. DeAngelo? You
Yes,
wanna
Your
say
Honor,
anything?
I'm just more trying to elicit the facts that how the events unfolded and just getting the timeframes correct for everybody, not that I am pointing the finger at anybody, and I try to make that clear in my opening, that nobody knows where Ms. Prokopovitz is at this point, so.
Yeah, I don't think Mr. DeAngelo is pointing any fingers. Like I said, I was here all day yesterday, and it didn't even cross my mind until you said it this morning. And a lot of things crossed my mind, but that wasn't one of them. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Ms. Lemko. The thing that I would like to bring up is with Ms. Masty. And in my pretrial order, I talked about no other testimony. I talked about yesterday about the gun testimony of Ms. Masty, but I'm expanding that to not only the gun testimony, but also I understand she's the defendant's daughter. It's anything that, any observation she may have, not only about the gun incident, but about Darlene Ingalls and the defendant. So, I mean, she clearly may have pertinent testimony with regard to the defendant, Mr. Prokopovitch, and Victoria. I don't know, and certainly you can ask questions about that. I am limiting her testimony to that, not the prior with Darlene in any way. So everybody's clear on that. Thank you. Are we ready to call the jury out then? Or is there anything else?
So, Your Honor, just Attorney DeAngelo and Attorney Saunders and I were just discussing. So with respect to what you've just ruled on, from what we understand, Lisa Masty can discuss any other relationship, observation, statements she may have heard her dad say right around when this incident with Vicky occurred. But with respect to that particular gun incident, she is not to be speaking about that.
Yeah, and that's correct. And also, she is not to be speaking about any relationship the defendant had with his first wife, Darlene. I mean, he's on trial with regard to Victoria. So we're not even going to go there. And I did reread the testimony from the hearing, and she seems to have some observations about Mr. Prokopovitch and Victoria. And that's what we have to focus on.
But Darlene can testify to it.
That is correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Mr. DeAngelo, as we go through this in the priors, your objection is noted, so you don't have to object in front of the jury.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Can I just have 1 minute, Your Honor?
You may. Let me know when you're ready. We'll just go off the record until then.
I don't know. It's okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. DeAngelo, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready, Your Honor. Whatever the state.
Okay.
United States ready.
Let's stand and we'll have the jury come out. Thank you. Have a seat, everybody. Thank you. And the record should reflect that the jury has come in, and this is day 2. And thank you very much, everybody, for coming back. That's always a good thing. And then, Ms. Lemko, are you ready to go?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you'd call your first witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, the state would call Wesley Edges to the stand.
Thanks, Tom. Mr. Saunders, do you have the person?
Yep, he was just in the annex part of the court.
Okay, very good.
Will you please remain standing and raise your right hand? You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. You may have a seat. And will you please state your name for the record and spell both your first and last name for the court?
Wesley Edges, Wesley Edges.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Lemko.
Thank you, Your Honor. Wes, could you please repeat your full name for the record?
Wesley Edges,
And how old are you?
44,
What's your date of birth?
12/27/77.
Wes, who is your mother?
Victoria Prokopovitz,
And who is your father?
Daryl Edges.
And so your mother had been married, or was your mother married to Mr. Edges?
Yes,
And did she ultimately get divorced from him at some point and marry somebody else?
yes.
And who is that?
James Prokopovitz,
So your relationship to Mr. Prokopovitz is that he's your stepfather?
correct.
Now, do you have any siblings?
2 sisters, Stacy and Marcia.
Okay. And that would be Marsha Loritz
Yes,
and Stacy Deer.
correct.
Ultimately, did Jim also have 2 biological children?
Yes, James and Lisa.
And when you say James, do you mean Wally?
Yes,
So he's like a James Jr.?
yes,
Okay. And Lisa, that's Lisa Mastey?
correct.
Now, I'd like to take you back to a time, at some point when you've alluded to the fact that your mom had married Jim. If that had occurred in October of 1989, does that sound right to you?
Correct. Yes,
Okay, and you said your birth date is 12/27/77?
yes,
So you would have been about 11 years old. Does that sound right, when they would have gotten married? And I'll need you to just speak right into the microphone.
sorry.
Thank you. At the time that your parents then, Jim, when they got
Ms.
married,
Lemko, you never answered the question.
oh, okay.
About 11 years old, does that sound that right when they would have gotten married?
Yes,
And at the time that your mom, Vicki, now married Jim, and you're moving in together, are all of you, from your 2 sisters to your step-siblings, at some point, you're all living in that house together?
yes,
Okay. And the role that Jim played in your life from that time on up until April of 2013, he had been a step-parent and a father figure to you?
Yes.
Because at some point did your father, Darrell Edges, pass away?
Yes, he has.
Okay. And if that occurred back in 1995, that was some time ago?
Yes.
So through the years, did you get along pretty well with your stepdad, Jim?
Yeah.
You had lived with him through the years up until even April of 2013?
Yes.
Okay. Were there times through the years that you did ultimately move out of the house but moved back in?
Yes.
All right. And your mother, Vicki, have you seen your mother since April of 2013?
No.
Previous to your mother going missing, how would you describe your relationship with your mom?
Really close. She was my best friend as well as my mother.
Was there something that happened to you, Wes, back in 1992 that was very troubling for you?
Yes, I was burned over 70% of my body.
Okay. And that was an incident that had happened with some friends?
With one friend.
As a result of you being burned over 70% of your body, did you receive medical treatment for that?
Yes.
Where'd you go?
St. Mary's Burn Center in Milwaukee.
And that burn center in Milwaukee, as part of your medical treatment and care, did you have to stay there for some time?
Roughly 5.5 months.
All right. And you indicated that's down in Milwaukee?
Yes.
Was your family living up here in the Brown County area around the time that happened?
Yes.
When you went down there and you were receiving your medical treatment, did your mother also go down there?
Yes, she stayed down there most of the time with me.
Was she, were you seeing her almost daily while you were there getting your treatment?
Yes.
Was that important to you, the support that she was showing you through that time?
Extremely.
Has your mom always been pretty supportive of you in your activities?
Yes.
And would that lend itself to part of the reason that you feel so close to her?
Yes.
Your mom, she did suffer from some depression, we've heard.
Yes.
You yourself, have you had issues with mental health or depression?
Yes.
Is that another thing that you and your mom had in common and shared?
Yes.
Now, through the years, we've heard some information about your mom with suffering with depression, that there actually had been 2 documented suicide attempts, one in a vehicle and then one where you found her. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, the vehicle incident, you weren't present, or you didn't see that one, or did you?
No.
Okay, that was something that happened with Stacy and Marcia.
Yes.
But in 2002, 2003, was there an incident where you came home and you found your mom?
Yes.
What happened with respect to that?
I was not living at home at the time. I was living on my own, and where I was working at the time, on my way home, I was driving, caused me to drive past her house, and I thought I'd just stop by and say hi, being I was driving by. And when I walked in the door, I seen the pills all over the floor, and I seen her laying on the floor, and that's how I found her.
And was that upsetting to you at that time, Wes?
Extremely.
Okay. And did you call for help for your mom on that date?
I believe I had a neighbor call for help. I was too shaken up to do it myself.
In fact, did you run next door to tell a neighbor about it?
Yes, I did.
And then that's who you had help you call?
Yes.
Because as you indicated, your state of mind at that time, this was shocking to you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when that happened, around the time that happened, did your mom leave a note?
She was in the process of writing one.
Okay. And that was a note to the family relating to the suicide?
Yes.
Okay. And with regard to that, did you ever talk to your mom afterwards about that incident?
She never really liked to talk about it a whole lot. She was more upset with me for finding her.
Because on that occasion, she indicated she was going to take her life?
Yes.
Now, after that incident, that would be 10 years prior to your mom going missing, was there also an incident in 2008 on what was perceived by your mom and Jim as an accidental overdose? Where she
Yes.
also? Okay. Now, in that incident, did your mom leave a note that time?
No.
Okay. And did you have discussions with her about that incident?
Yes.
She herself told you that that was just accidental, that she had taken too many pills?
Yes.
Okay. And your stepfather, Jim, that was also how he perceived it?
Yes.
Okay. So when we're talking about the attempts, there had been 2 times that you have been aware some time ago about your mom.
Yes.
Now, at some point in the summer of 2012, so the summer before your mom went missing, did your mom receive or have some surgery for any kind of cancer?
Yes. Colon cancer.
Okay, colon cancer. And so at that time, when she had that surgery, did she have a colostomy bag on her?
Yes.
And at this time, were you living in the house with them?
Yes.
Okay, so you're there that summer. Did you have the opportunity to see and hear what your mother thought about having that?
She did not like it. She said it was disgusting and it was humiliating to her.
Okay. After she had that surgery then in the summer of 2012, in October and fall, a couple months later, did she have a reversal surgery on that?
Yes.
At the time that she had that, when she was going through all of this, did she happen to lose some weight and become thinner?
Yes.
At some point in that fall, when she's having these surgeries and having these health problems, does she have some issues falling that she uses? And did she use a cane then?
Yes.
Let's let the district attorney ask the question before you answer it, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Because otherwise, it's really hard on the reporter if people are talking over each other.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So at some point when she's falling, was that because she alleged she was getting weak?
Yes.
Was she sometimes walking with a cane around that time?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay, but not all the time?
No.
Okay. And after now, the fall of 2012, after she has that reversal surgery, she's still recovering for the next couple of months after that?
Yes.
Do you have the opportunity to see around that time? And now we're getting into the beginning, early January, February, March 2013. Is your mom leaving the house a lot?
No.
Has your mom through the years gone to see doctors for her health?
Yes.
and doctors for her mental health?
Yes.
And would your mom be driving herself in the last year or two of her life, or did she get a ride?
Usually got a ride.
Okay. In 2012, 2013, your mom no longer had a car, isn't that right?
Correct.
So did you have a car?
My car was broke. I had borrowed one from a friend to use.
Okay. And did Jim have a car?
Yes.
Who is driving Vicky to her doctor appointments?
Jim.
Okay. And who was picking up Vicky's medication for her?
Jim.
And at the time, if your dad was saying he was in control of her medications, he was the one giving her her meds, is that right?
Yes.
Do you know who controlled the money in the household when you were living there?
As far as I know, it was Jim.
Yeah. Now, Wes, I'd like to direct your attention to Thursday, April 25th of 2013 in the evening. Was that the last time you saw your mom, Vicky?
Yes.
Okay. And earlier in that day, on that Thursday, did you drive her to her doctor appointment or did Jim?
Jim did.
Okay. Did you have the opportunity to see your mom on that date, how she was dressed, how she was acting before she went to the doctor?
Yes.
And how was that?
She was in the best spirits that I've seen her in probably a month.
Okay.
She was very well dressed. She was wearing makeup. She had her hair done. She was in very good spirits.
Okay. And based upon your relationship with your mom and how you know what you knew of your mom through the years, did your mom, with her mental health, have some good days and some bad days?
Oh, yeah.
Now, when your mom was having a bad day, is that more or less viewed in the family that she was more depressed or sad?
Yes.
When your mom was having those kinds of days, would she necessarily get out of bed?
No.
Would she get up and would she shower?
No.
You just commented on the fact she had on makeup that day. Would she put on makeup?
Not if she was down and depressed, no.
Okay. And with regard to that, was your mom less talkative and more non-communicative if she was depressed or sad?
Yeah, she would close herself off from everybody usually.
Okay. And you're somebody who lived on and off with her for what was your entire life before she disappeared.
Yes.
So you had pretty regular interactions with her?
Yes.
You did have friends around that time. Were there times, though, that you would stay at other friends' places?
Yes.
Okay. And you weren't in that house all the time. You got out?
Yeah.
Okay. But in general, is it your belief you had a pretty good understanding of your mother and what was going on in that house?
Yes.
And on that day, on that Thursday, it's your perception that your mom was having a good day.
Yes.
Now, on that day, at some point in that afternoon, your mom goes to that doctor appointment along with Jim. Is that right?
Yes.
When they get back, do you have dinner with your parents?
Yeah,
Okay. And when you're saying that you had dinner with them, where were all of you?
at the kitchen table.
So you're at your residence?
Yes,
And when we're talking about that residence, that 5118 Coonish Drive,
Coonish Road.
Coonish Road. And is that in the town of Pittsfield, Brown County, Wisconsin?
Yes,
So you're saying you're eating there in the kitchen, you're around a kitchen table?
yes.
Do you remember what you had for dinner that night?
I believe it was Super Ron's chicken.
Okay. We've heard about Super Ron's chicken. Pretty good, I guess. At some point, as you're having dinner, do you remember who would have put the chicken out on the table?
I believe it was my mom.
Okay. Do you remember who might have gotten the plates out and might have set the table for all of you?
I believe it was her as well.
Okay. And I'm taking you back to that night, Wes, when you're sitting there at the table with your parents. When you're describing who's there, you're there, correct? I need you to say yes or no.
I said yes.
Oh, thank you. And your mom, Vicki, is there,
Yes,
and your stepdad, Jim.
correct.
Nobody else is there.
No.
While you're there at that table, do you remember at that time how everybody's interacting and what's happening?
Remember I asked her about her doctor's appointment, how things were going, how she liked her doctor. We had a discussion about that. And I remember confrontation about Jim not wanting to go to the dollar store for, I believe it was a tablecloth.
Let me stop you there. So you're saying a confrontation. Who is that between?
My mom and Jim.
Okay. And so that's something that's happening as you're sitting at that table on that Thursday evening?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember approximately what time you're eating on that day? If you remember.
Roughly around 5-ish.
Okay. And at some point as you're having that discussion, or strike that, your mom and Jim are having that discussion, do you have the opportunity to view both of their physical demeanors when it's going on?
They both seemed a little agitated.
Okay. And as this is going on, do you remember if one is sitting, one is standing? Do you remember?
They were both sitting at the time.
Okay. And this discussion that's occurring, it's occurring in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay. And you believe it's about your mom wanting to get a tablecloth?
Yes, from the dollar store.
Okay. And there's a discussion that Jim didn't want to stop and do that?
No, he didn't want to go. I believe his words were, we can get it later or tomorrow or something like that.
Okay. And when he's saying that, did you have the opportunity to view your mom's demeanor? Did she appear upset?
Yes, because she wanted to get it that night.
Okay. And when you're making a reference to Jim saying, we'll do it tomorrow, was that kind of common in their relationship?
He liked to procrastinate with things if it got too late in the evening, and he'd get relaxed and he wouldn't want to get back up and go out, and he'd just say, well, we'll go tomorrow.
Okay,
And my mom would always complain to me, oh, tomorrow never comes.
okay. And did you see that that was frustrating to your mom?
Yes,
Now, at the time that you're having dinner, do you remember if Jim is drinking any alcohol?
yes,
What was he drinking?
a beer.
Based upon living in that household and being familiar with the habits of Jim, was it a common occurrence, daily, weekly, monthly, that he would have a beer?
Daily,
Okay. And that was just pretty well known?
yeah.
Okay. Now, on that date, at some point, as you're having this dinner, at some point, do you leave the residence?
Yes,
All right. And do you remember when that happened?
roughly about 6 or 6:30.
Okay. And at the time that you are leaving the residence, who's still at the residence?
My mom and Jim.
Okay. And at the time that you're leaving, do you remember what is going on with either of them or not?
I believe my mom was still at the table, and I don't remember exactly where Jim was.
Okay. Do you remember if anybody's still agitated or not?
I'm assuming my mom's still agitated because she doesn't like to let things go too easily,
Okay.
especially when it's something so trivial like that.
And your mom, did she like to decorate her house?
She loved to.
Okay. So that's something pretty common, that she liked to make her house look nice?
Yes,
At the time that your mom, on this April date and then the days previous to that, was your house pretty well kept?
yeah. During her surgery and that, there was a time where she wasn't able to keep up with it as much as she previously did, but for the most part, yes, it was kept up.
Okay. Wes, do you remember in a previous statement, do you recall stating that you recalled that Jim was sitting in a chair watching TV and your mother was messing around with an entertainment center? You remember that?
Don't recall.
Okay. And as you sit here today under oath, you're just doing your best to tell the truth about what you recall?
Yes,
Some of the information you had given previously, that was some time ago, and you just remember what you remember here today?
yes.
Okay. Now, at the time that you're leaving the residence on that Thursday night, did you ever see your mom again?
No.
Okay. And on that evening, when you left that residence, where did you go?
I went to my friend Jerry and Kelly's.
Can you say that one more time?
I went to my friend Jerry Walters and Kelly Walters.
Okay. And Jerry and Kelly, at that time, did they have children?
Yes.
So this was a couple with a family that were friends of yours?
Yes.
In fact, did one of their children suffer something similar to you?
Both of them, actually.
Okay, and what was that?
Severe burns.
Okay. And because of the relationship with you and your prior experience with having been burned and the fact that their children had also experienced something similar, was that something bonding you to that family?
Yes.
So on that evening, you go over there, and do you remember what you were doing over there then?
I brought their computer back to them that had to have a new hard drive put in it. Setting their computer back up for them so their kids have something to play on again. Once I got that set up for them, I just sat down, watched TV, just, talked, BS'd with them for a while, and just
So-
usual.
At some point in that evening, in fact, did you stay up later with Kelly and Jim and Jerry went to bed?
Yeah, Jerry worked, Kelly didn't.
Okay. And then at some point, did you leave that residence?
Yes.
Do you remember approximately when?
I think it was after midnight. I don't remember exactly what time it was.
You know, it was later in the night?
Yes.
And then did you meet up with another friend after that?
Yes, Rosman.
Okay. And what's Rosman's full name?
I don't even know how to say his last name.
Okay. With regard to then meeting up with Rosman, was there a time then that you were returning to your residence?
Yes.
And approximately when were you doing that?
Around 4 a.m.
Okay. And on your way home, did you stop anywhere?
Yeah, I stopped at the Quick Trip on the corner of Shawano and Taylor Street.
Okay. And do you remember anything specifically that you bought when you stopped at the gas station?
Yes, Krispy Kreme Glazers.
Okay. And for the edification of the jury, are those donuts?
Yes.
Okay. So as you're stopping there, you're buying those donuts. And after you do that, and you said that's approximately 4 a.m., where do you go after you do that?
And I went home, straight home after that.
Okay. And when you're talking about going home, is that Coonish Road address?
Correct.
On that date, do you remember what vehicle you're driving?
I was driving blue four-wheel drive Z71.
know if the jury was able to hear the answer on that last question, but we have it read back. I was driving a blue four-wheel drive Z71. Okay, thank you. Now, you indicated that you were driving a vehicle. I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 32. Do you recognize this?
Yes,
What is that?
it's the truck I was driving.
Okay. And this is consistent with the truck that you would have been in on that date?
Correct.
Who'd that truck belong to?
Jerry.
Okay. Who's Jerry?
Jerry Williams,
Okay.
my friend.
The friend you were just at that night before?
Yes.
I'm showing you exhibit number 33. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is that?
That is Jim's work truck.
Okay. And I'm showing you 34, exhibit 34. What is that?
Jim's work truck again.
Just for the record, Wes, when we're talking about what these items are, these are photographs depicting these items?
Correct.
So this is a photograph of Jim's truck?
Yes.
Okay. And the date on that, that says May 2nd of 2013, is that right?
Correct.
On each of these?
Yes.
Which is just a couple days after your mom is missing?
Yes.
Exhibit number 32, this is your vehicle, right?
Yes.
Does that appear to be clean or dirty?
Clean.
Exhibit 34, Jim's truck, does that appear to be clean or dirty?
Dirty.
Now, Your Honor, we're going to be asking for the admission of 32, 33, and 34, and we're going to ask that they get published to the jury, but we'll need a minute to set that up.
Do you have any objection, Mr. D'Angelo, to those exhibits?
No objection, Your Honor.
Then I am going to admit Exhibit 32, 33, and 34. And you're asking to publish those exhibits?
Yes.
Any objection to that?
No objection, Your Honor.
Then it will be published. How are we going to do that, Ms.
Can
Lenko?
we just do this after he testifies, maybe, I think, unless Mr. Saunders has it set up. I'm not as techy, Your Honor.
Mr. Saunders, do you have it set up? Okay.
So just so it's clear for the jury, this is Exhibit 32, which Wes identified as his truck. That's Exhibit 33, Jim's truck. And Exhibit 34, another vantage point of that truck. Now, Wes, on this date, you indicated that after you left the gas station, you then proceeded home. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. I'm showing you it's been marked as State's Exhibit number 2. What is that a photograph of?
The driveway entering the property.
Okay. As you're coming in, I'm showing you Exhibit 2. As you're coming into the driveway on that date, do you recall what direction you're entering?
I would be entering from, would be, your,
Are you coming in this way
yes,
or this way?
I would be coming in from the right side of the photograph.
So you're taking a right into the driveway?
Yes,
Okay. At the time that you're coming into that driveway and you're driving down that street, do you see anything?
yes.
What do you see?
There was a vehicle pulling in the driveway before I actually got to the driveway.
And what direction is that vehicle going?
It was going from west to east.
So is that the opposite way of you?
Yes,
So as it's pulling into the driveway, that car is taking a left into the driveway,
correct.
and and you're taking a right in after it?
Yes.
Okay. As you're coming down the street and you see that vehicle, you initially just see the lights of that vehicle?
Yes.
So when you initially see that vehicle coming down the road, 4 a.m., around that time, you initially don't know who that vehicle belongs to or what it even is?
No.
But as you're now pulling into the driveway, you see it's pulling into your driveway.
Yes.
Do you recognize that vehicle?
Not until I see it turn around under the yard light.
Okay. And whose vehicle was that?
Jim's.
As you're pulling into that driveway, and I should say, do you know, how long did it take you to drive from Rosman's? After you left Rosman's house, you said you went directly home?
Yes.
How long is the drive from where he lived?
10, 12 minutes.
Okay. And then you're at the Quick Trip, and how long does it take you to get home then from there?
I'm confused on your statement.
Okay. After you leave Quick Trip, do you drive directly home?
Yes,
Okay.
because Rosman lives right next to the Quick Trip pretty much.
Oh, okay. So then you stop there for the Glazers. Now you're on your way home.
Yes.
Okay. As you're pulling in that driveway, do you recall how Jim's vehicle ahead of you is pulling in? Is it pulling in quickly? Is it pulling in slowly? Or don't you recall?
It didn't seem like it was pulling in like extremely fast or extremely slow. It just, I don't know, it pulled in.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain it really. Just,
Just pulling in ahead of you.
yeah,
So at the time that you're pulling in, there's nobody in your vehicle with you, right?
no,
Okay. And as you're pulling in into the driveway, do you park behind the vehicle? Or,
yes. It was kind of behind, but off to the side.
Okay. So as you're pulling in, do you see who gets out of the vehicle?
Yes,
Who is that?
Jim.
And does it appear, from what you can see, anybody's in the vehicle with Jim?
No,
You can't see.
there's nobody in the vehicle with him.
Okay. And as you get out of your vehicle, what happens?
He was walking up to the house, and when I pulled in, he turned around, started walking towards me as I was getting out of the truck, and the first thing he said to me was, "Mom's gone."
Okay. And at that time, what was your reaction to that?
"What do you mean, Mom's gone?"
Okay. What did he say?
I woke up and she's not here.
And then what happened?
He said he's been out looking for her, and that he's going to go out and continue looking for her. And I decided I was going to stay around and wait and see if she came back. And
Was there a discussion, Wes, about calling authorities?
yes, I asked him if he called the police. He said he was going to call.
And now this is the early morning and you've been out for most of the night, is that right?
Yes,
So as he tells you he's going to do that, What do you see Jim do?
He didn't call.
Well, let's talk about this. So when you're having this discussion, are you still outside or are you
Outside, yes.
Okay, so the two of you are outside. Are you standing in between the vehicles, by the house, where?
Between the vehicles and the house.
Okay. And at some point, do you see Jim enter the house?
He didn't enter the house until after he came back.
Did you see him walk towards the house at all?
Yeah, when I was first pulling in.
Okay. So after you have this discussion, do you see what Jim does?
He went back in his truck and he left the driveway in the same direction he came in.
Okay. And you saw that?
Yes.
So you didn't see him at that point go back in the house?
At that time, he did not go back in the house, no.
He stayed by his vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. So after you see Jim pull out, you indicated he's leaving and he's going out the same direction he came in, right?
Yes.
Did you see him with anything else?
No.
You didn't see him carrying anything?
No.
Didn't see anything else? After he now leaves, what do you do?
I went in the house.
Okay. And what's running through your mind at this point?
It's just total disbelief in what's going on. I was in shock. Didn't want to believe what was going on.
This was startling to you?
Extremely.
At the time that you had seen the vehicle that was Jim was in, did you see if it was clean or dirty at that time?
I didn't even pay attention to what the vehicle looked like.
Were you paying attention to much else? Were you worried about your mom?
Yes.
Okay. When you went in the house, at some point, did you hear Jim return?
Yes.
Do you know approximately how long it was before he would have returned?
It seemed like only about 15 minutes.
Okay. The jury heard on a CAD call to law enforcement, your dad or Jim saying he had been out looking for an hour with his son. You didn't go out looking for Victoria at that time, did you?
No.
Okay.
I didn't have the gas to go out and go looking for her.
Okay. So you were, as you said, staying there in case she came home?
Yes.
Okay. Had you ever seen your mom go missing like this, days on end, where nobody knew where she was?
Never.
So this was not something normal?
No.
Okay. And although your mom had some depression issues, on that date, you didn't see anything out of the usual with her behavior?
No.
Previous to that, there had been some talk that your mom had liked walks, but had your mom been walking around the neighborhood extensively around this time when she disappeared?
No.
Were her health issues such that she wasn't doing any of that around that time?
No.
Now, when people are talking about her liking walks, was that years previous?
Yes.
Okay. Since she had her cancer, that wasn't something that she would go walk down the trail or anything like that?
No, that affected her mobility.
Okay. Now, if there was a statement at some point where you said around the time your mom left that she was walking fine, was that what was that about?
He walked around the house fine.
Okay. And was that meaning that she wasn't needing to be walking with her cane all the time?
Yes.
Okay. That didn't mean she was going to start taking big hikes or anything?
No.
There was the possibility that maybe your mom would walk around at night. In the past, when she was feeling better, a few years prior, would she walk around the yard?
Yeah, when she was feeling better
Okay.
and she didn't have anything bothering her, like her cancer.
So those types of things, you living in the house, seeing how your mom was, that was something you were not seeing her capable of doing at the time of April of 2013.
No.
With respect to that area on Coonish Road and where the residence was, is that a pretty rural area?
Extremely.
Are there many streetlights?
No.
At night, is it very dark?
Yes.
Now, when somebody's talking about there had been a time where your mom would go putz around the yard or stuff at night, had she ever been walking around down the street at night?
Not down the street.
Okay, just in the yard?
Yeah.
Okay. So some of that has appeared to have gotten misconstrued in your opinion?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at the time that your mom would have gone missing then, you indicated that you were aware that Jim returned to the house. Approximately how long did you think he was gone then, that second time?
Seemed like 15 minutes.
Okay. You're still awake when he returns?
Yes.
Now, the layout of this house, we've heard a little bit about it. This is an older home?
Yeah.
Would you be able, your area in the house, where was your bedroom?
My bedroom was upstairs,
And
second floor.
so your bedroom's upstairs. I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 35. Does this appear to be the layout of the first floor of your residence on Coonish Road?
Yes.
Can you all hear me? I don't have a mic. Okay. And when you talked about the fact, so this is first floor, about the kitchen you were at that day, can you show us on here where the kitchen is? Okay. And where is the door that generally everybody would come in and out of at that residence?
Right here.
Okay. Let the record reflect the witness has identified the dining area towards the bottom left, and then to the east of that, the door, Your Honor.
Okay.
Now, I'm also, for demonstrative purposes, showing what has been marked as second floor of this residence, okay, the upstairs. Where is your bedroom in relation?
Right here.
Okay. And I'd reflect for the record, Your Honor, the witness has identified the lower left quadrant on the second floor.
And you agree with that, Mr. D'Angelo?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, the record is so reflect.
And now I'm also showing you exhibit number 37. Is this a diagram of the basement of the residence?
Yes.
Okay. Is this an area, what was in the basement of the residence?
Just pretty much storage. She had decorated it for the sitting area that pretty much didn't get used.
Was it decorated in the basement like Christmas?
Yes,
Was that your mom's favorite holiday?
yes.
Your Honor, we're going to be moving for the admission of Exhibit 35, 36, and 37.
Mr. DeAngelo, any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Then I will receive Exhibit 35, Exhibit 36, and Exhibit 37.
Wes, you made a reference a little bit ago to your bedroom being up in the upstairs, is that right?
Yes,
Did you have a computer up there?
yes,
You indicated you went to your friends that night and you assisted them with their computer. Were you pretty good with computers?
yeah,
Did your mom have a computer?
no,
Did your mom ever use the internet?
no,
Did your mom have a smartphone?
no,
She have a flip phone?
yes,
And that's not something she accessed.
no. I don't even think she knew how to turn a computer on.
Okay, okay. She didn't go up on your computer.
No,
Okay. So at the time that you're at the residence and Jim went back out to look for your mom, what part of the house are you in?
my bedroom.
Okay. And so now you've identified that for the jury. That's up on second floor?
Yes,
But this is a relatively small house. Would you agree?
yes,
With respect to what's going on in that house, and you've identified it as older, were you able from your bedroom upstairs to hear if the door was opening downstairs?
yeah,
Okay. And was there a reason? Was it more rickety?
yeah. The windows would shake and rattle anytime that the outside door would close.
Okay. So if somebody's using that door downstairs, you're going to hear it up there.
Yes,
Okay. And at this time, at some point, you hear Jim come home?
yes,
Okay. Are you upstairs?
yes,
And do you figure he'd let you know if he found your mom?
yes.
And so what are you doing?
Just sitting there pretty much in shock.
And at some point, do you go to bed?
Yes,
Had you had a discussion with Jim about him calling authorities?
yes,
And at some point, do you hear Jim leave for work?
yes.
Do you know what time of day you heard that?
The exact time I can't be precise on the exact time. It's
Sure.
around 5, what I want to say.
You just heard him leave?
Yes,
Okay. And at some point then, you said you went to bed?
yes,
And then at any time that morning, does your mom return?
no,
At some point, does Jim return to the residence?
yes.
Do you know when that was?
I want to say around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I'm not exactly sure on what time exactly.
Sure. And I'm asking these questions 7, 8 years later. So you're doing your best to recall.
Yes,
So at some point, though, he does return.
yes,
And when he returns, your mom still has not returned.
no,
Do you remember when he returned? Did you talk to him?
yes.
And what did you talk to him about?
I asked him if he had called.
And when you're saying called, you mean call authorities?
Yes.
And do you recall what he said?
He says he's going to now.
Okay. So at that time then, did you see him make a call to authorities?
Not right then and there, no.
Okay. Did you go back upstairs?
I don't remember exactly what I did.
Okay. Well, and I was presuming you came down the stairs. Were you yelling to him from upstairs?
I was downstairs.
Okay. So you had a discussion about it, and at some point, he's again told you that he's calling authorities?
Yes,
Now, at this time, again, Wes, your relationship that you had had with your stepfather, Jim, did you get along with him pretty well?
I felt I did.
What did you refer to him, or what did you call him?
I called him Dad.
He was a dad to you.
Yes,
Is that what's made a lot of this very difficult for you?
yes.
Okay. At some point then, do the authorities arrive at the residence?
Yes.
Now, when the authorities arrive, do you know where you are? Were you upstairs? Were
I
you?
think I was upstairs when they arrived.
Okay. As this is happening on that day, are you still very troubled by what's happened?
Yes,
Okay. And as a result, are you upset about it?
yes.
Are you the type of guy, Wes, that internalizes stress, or do you cry and get very dramatic about things?
Internalize everything.
Okay. Is that kind of how you are?
Yeah,
So at some point when the authorities now come to the residence, does somebody come and speak to you? Do you remember?
I believe the officer that responded did come and speak to me.
Do you remember if it was a male or a female?
Female?
Okay. And at that time, did you basically tell her what you knew?
Yes,
Okay. Did you call your sisters, Stacy or Marcia, at all on that date to tell them what happened?
no,
Okay. Did you regularly call Stacy, or did she call you?
Stacy usually called me. I didn't really contact my sisters a whole lot.
What about Marcia? If you spoke to Marcia, was it because she called you?
Yes,
Around that time, you weren't calling either of them regularly,
no,
but would they check up on you from time to time?
yes,
Okay. Since your mom has gone missing, have they checked up on you a lot more frequently?
yes,
Now, at some point, however, law enforcement has come to the house and they've learned about your mom being missing, right?
yes,
And at some point, there are some searches that are done at the residence, is that right?
yes,
Those searches, to the best of your understanding, there were some that were organized by law enforcement?
correct.
Were there also a lot organized by your sisters, Marcia and Stacy?
Yes,
With respect to those searches, Wes, do you recall, were you ever out physically participating in the searches?
no, it was too hard for me.
Okay. When you're saying it's too hard for you, what do you mean by that? Addressing that your mom's missing is too hard for you?
Just everything in general is just too much for me.
Okay. So for you and the way you're dealing with things, it's better to just, you couldn't handle participating in that?
No,
Okay. Was it difficult for you to have people talking about your mom missing around you?
yes,
Was that part of it?
yeah,
But when you had interactions with your sisters, did you indicate you were happy that they were searching for your mom?
yes,
As a result of the burns that you did suffer in that incident back in 1992, have you suffered medical or have you had health consequences as a result of that?
Could you be a little more specific, please?
Yeah. Does the burns that you suffered on your body limit your mobility, your ability to get around?
It causes me pain, yes.
Okay. But you are still able to walk.
Yes.
Does cold weather make it more difficult?
Yes. I've had problems with arthritis since I was 5 too. So I've had problems with cold before my burns.
Okay. But it's your testimony here today. It's not your physical disability. It was your mental inability to assist in some of those searches.
Yes.
Okay. Wes, since your mom went missing on that date, April 25th into the 26th of 2013, have you yourself ever heard from your mom?
No.
Have you ever heard that any of your other family members have heard from her?
No.
You heard of anybody in the public having credibly heard from her?
No.
Have you seen your mom?
No.
Have you heard if anybody else has seen your mom?
No.
Have you heard of her utilizing any credit cards or accessing any money in your family?
No.
On the day that she left, were there some cigarettes do you remember there were cigarettes left behind?
Yes.
Did your mom smoke?
A lot.
And when you say a lot, like how much? A pack, a couple packs a day?
Couple packs a day.
With respect to that, did you once make a statement she hardly left the room without her cigarettes?
Yes.
Is that how you perceived her smoking habit?
Yeah.
If you saw her leaving the house, she would most certainly have them?
Most definitely would have had them.
Okay. Wes, on the day that your mom went missing, was there an item that she left behind that was significant?
Her purse.
Wes, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 27. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
What is that?
My mom's purse.
Something you saw her with? I need you to say yes or no into the mic.
Yes.
Okay. And it's something she would take with her?
Yes.
Okay. And the items that I'm showing you for the record, I'm opening the item. Do you see some of her personal items in it?
Yes.
Okay. So you recognize this belonged to her?
Correct.
I'm also showing you it's been marked as State's Exhibit 28. Do you recognize this?
It's her phone.
Okay. And this was a flip phone?
Yes.
Okay. Wes, finally, I'm showing you it's been marked as State's Exhibit 29. What is that?
My mother.
It's a photograph. It goes without saying, this has been difficult for you, the loss of your mother?
Yes.
Okay. In the last, in the last 8 years since she has now been missing, have there been things in your life you would have wanted to share with her?
Yes.
Are you presently married?
Yes.
Is that something she would have wanted to be at?
Yes.
Okay. Now, prior to your mom disappearing, you indicated you got along well with Jim. After your mom disappeared, did your relationship with Jim become more distant?
Yes.
And with respect to that, after your mom disappeared, you were still living at that Coonish Road address, is that right?
Yes.
And initially, you were also living there with Jim?
Yes.
And at some point, maybe about a year later, did he move out of that residence?
Could you repeat that, please?
At some point, did you both have to move out of that residence?
Yes.
Okay. After Jim got in that relationship with Kathy, did you see him as much?
No.
Was he spending time away from the residence?
Yes.
At some point, did your sisters come to you because they heard that Jim was in a relationship with somebody?
Yes.
At the time that your sisters came to you, were you already aware that relationship was going on?
Yes.
Okay. So although they had just become aware of it, you were aware of it?
Yes.
Had you heard Jim speaking on the phone to somebody regularly?
Yes.
After your mom disappeared and you're living in this house with Jim, do you have the opportunity to view his demeanor and attitude about your mom being missing?
Yes.
Did he seem, and I'm talking now the weeks, months after she's missing, did he seem concerned about her being missing?
Over time, it seemed less and less concerned.
And part of that, he had this relationship with Kathy. Had you met Kathy?
No.
Okay. Did you ever hear him talk about giving away your mom's belongings?
No.
Did you talk a lot to Jim after your mom went missing about your mom?
I would try to talk to him, but he would usually either say the bare minimum that he would have to say to me, or he'd change the subject.
Okay. Did you see what his attitude was towards the searches? Or not really?
I know that there's one of the search teams refused to come back because of the way he was acting. I know that. I wasn't there for the searches.
Okay, so basically, you weren't really there for the searches, so you don't know what was happening?
Yes.
Okay. But you are aware of the search team that was not going to be coming back because of Jim?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Wes, at some point, law enforcement talks to you kind of about the timeline of where you were that night. Is that right?
Yes.
And at some point, did you not tell them about part of your evening?
Yes.
Okay. But ultimately, you did then tell them where you were that night?
Yes.
Okay. And they alibied that out? They talked to somebody about that, so they understood you were there?
Yes.
Okay. What was the reason initially you told law enforcement that you stayed at the Williams house all night? You didn't meet up with Rosman?
Because I didn't want to get Rosman in trouble.
Okay. And what were you getting from Rosman?
I was buying marijuana from him.
Okay. And so because of that, you didn't tell them about the part of meeting with Rosman?
Correct.
Okay. When you were there that night, did you actually take a picture of something?
Yes, I took a picture of his cat, and there's a mask that he had hanging on a light.
Okay. And do you know, with respect to, you said you know about computers, if somebody's taking a photo of something, so you're understanding that can be time-stamped?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you talked about that night that you had taken a couple pictures on your phone, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. One was of a cat, you said?
Yes.
Was one of a mask?
Yes.
All right. I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 39. Do you recognize that?
That's the mask?
Okay. So that would be a photograph of the mask?
Yes.
And I'm showing you Exhibit 40. On this, does it include a photograph of the cat?
Yes.
Okay. And so those were photographs you took off your phone?
Yes.
All right. Your Honor, we're moving for the admission of 39 and 40. We actually have a secondary witness on these, so we're not asking it to be published to the jury yet.
Mr. D'Angelo, do you have any objection to 39 and 40?
No objection.
Then I will receive those. Thank you.
Wes, based upon your mom being missing, it's your testimony that your relationship did change with your stepdad, who you called Dad Jim, right?
Yes.
Okay. And at some point, did your sisters approach you about some of the concerns they had as well?
Yes.
And your family was also in contact with Kathy Friday's children?
Yes.
With respect to, other than that statement that you admitted to law enforcement, you had lied about the weed, other than that, all the information that you've been giving to law enforcement about your mom's disappearance, has that been truthful?
Yes.
Have you been cooperative with officers when they want to meet with you, giving them statements?
Yes.
Even in light of coming forward with having been untruthful about something on that evening, you have been truthful and agreed to assist in any way?
Yes.
And you were even told by them at one point then that, well, strike that. Overall, Wes, the fact that your mom is missing and now not a part of your life, has that been very troubling for your mental health?
Yeah.
Have you had depression and side effects as a result of that?
Yeah.
And your mental health and depression, that's something you had previous to this, but has it become more compounded with the loss of your mom?
Yeah.
Wes, do you miss your mom?
Yes, I do.
I have no further questions.
Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we'll take a 15-minute break now. if you would go with Bailiff Tom, and we will see everybody at approximately 10:10. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, and we'll see everybody at about 10:10. Thank you.